everybody, this is your pal Tonystyle here, and today I'm going to be going over a Resto Druid Turbocleave mirror matchup guide. The goal is that by the end of this video you'll know the optimal strats and why they are the best, what to look for, and how to close out the game. So first things first, let's get into the talents and glyphs before we even get into the arena itself. Now, talents and glyphs sometimes can be particular to every enhanced champion, but what I will do is give you what I use and tell you why it's the best. But if your team asks you to do something different or you prefer something a little bit different, that's fine. There are definitely really good other ways to play it, but this is just how I prefer and how I've had the most success myself. As far as talents goes, we're sticking with Nature's Guardian. That never changes, always the best. This should be a staple by now. We're going Windwalk Totem because the freedom for ourselves and our warrior is going to be crucial to the winning. Definitely a very, very big part of how you play the game and how the game turns out as to how well you guys can connect on the target that you want. Call of the Elements is the one that I'm always going against this matchup. I love the double freedom. That's definitely the only reason that I like this. Everything else is kind of nice, I guess, in certain situations, like a grounding totem can be very nice. For example, as you can see here, my warrior and I are chasing the enemy Resto Druid behind a pillar, and he uses Mass Entanglement to root both of us. So as you can see, I just recently used Windwalk Totem, so this is not going to be up for a while. However, I do have Call of the Elements up. So I use that, pop that, and we both get out of it. Now, my warrior, as you can see, uses Blaze Storm, so a little bit of an overlap, but regardless, I, with my Ascendants especially, would have been completely wasting it here, just sitting behind the pillar and not doing anything much with it at all. So this is show you that in certain situations, this is a huge benefit to your team and something to never be overlooked. And then when it comes to the level 60 talents, I'm going to stick with Echo the Elements because I want to be doing the most amount of damage as possible, but with 2 Lava Lashes, that helps you get more healing as well. As we'll get into earlier, I'll tell you why that is. And then the level 75 talents, Ancestral Guidance, is crucial whenever you're ascendancing to get the extra healing in. So Ascendance is both offensive and defensive with this, which is really crucial when fighting Turbocleaves. For example, in this situation, you can see my Resto Druid is falling behind, and the enemy enhanced shaman pops his Ascendance, so I'm going to be really worried about my teammate. So with that, I'm going to counter it with my own Ascendance and use Ancestral Guidance to heal as much as possible in addition to any Maelstrom procs that I get out on him as well. Level 90 talents, we're going to go with Unleash Fury. And the reason I go Unleash Fury is because I like the extra buff that it gives without having to use your 5-stack on Elemental Blast for buff. So you get Multi-Strike, which is definitely your least beneficial stat, but you have it a lot more, so I think that's a lot better, especially considering the fact that Elemental Blast can give us Multi-Strike as well. So, with that in mind, we're going level 100 talent, which is going to be Elemental Fusion, because you want your Flame Shocks to be huge, not only for damage, but for healing, and so once again, we'll get more into that when we talk about glyphs. Speaking of which, let's talk about those right now. So, the first one is going to be Lightning Shield, bread and butter. Shouldn't even have to tell you why this is really good by now. Everybody uses it, 10% damage, extremely important in this matchup as well. Next up is the Flame Shock glyph, which heals you for 45% of the damage dealt by your Flame Shock. This is not just relegated to one. It's any Flame Shock that you have out, so there's really no cap on it as far as the healing is concerned. And this is what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about Echo the Elements and Elemental Fusion, increasing the healing that you get, because if you have Echo the Elements, not only is it going to give you 2 Lava Lashes to stack up Elemental Fusion, so your Flame Shock is going to be dealing more damage. Every time you hit that Lava Lash, it's going to, of course, spread that Flame Shock, so you're going to get a lot more Flame Shocks that are a lot more powerful going out, which means a lot more healing. So for example, here you can see that while I'm being targeted, I'm making sure that I'm spreading the Flame Shocks as much as possible and spamming the Lava Lash as much as possible to stack up the extra healing. And so what this allows me to do here is not only follow the enemy Resto Druid behind a pillar out of line of sight of my own Resto Druid, but use the procs that I have accumulated on a Lightning Bolt rather than saving it for a heal for myself. And last but not least is Glyph of Frostbrand Weapon, which will allow your offhand weapon attacks to slow the target's movement speed by 50% for 3 seconds. Like I talked about before, and why I use Call of the Elements plus Windwalk Totem is that the ability to get to where you need to go and attack the target you need to attack is going to be super crucial. Probably one of, if not the most important part of this matchup. So likewise, being able to limit the enemy's movement is going to be equally as important. So for example, as you can see here, I'm being targeted really heavily, and all I want to do right now is spam those Flame Shocks for healing and get some distance here. So I'm going to Storm Strike the warrior and use my Spirit Walk to get some distance, and while he is able to close the gap with a leap, that means that he doesn't have the leap whenever I get away here in a little bit. So this is going to be very, very crucial for making the enemy use gap closers like that to get to you and make you just as elusive as possible. Now in the situation here, the enemy enhanced shaman is not running Frostburn weapons, so once this hamstring falls off of me, I'm going to be able to easily kite him and this is going to make it a very easily recoverable situation for us, as opposed to what it would be if I was not able to get away from him if he had a Frostburn weapon. In addition to that, he's going to have to use cooldowns to get to me. As you can see here, he's going to pop Windwalk Totem, and this is extra cooldowns that he does not need to be using. And in addition, in order to slow me, he'll have to use things like Frost Shock to keep me from running wherever I want to go. So this means that he's doing less healing from Flame Shock, in addition to me being able to get more healing, because I can Flame Shock at will and spam my Lava Lashes and my Storm Strike rather than have to worry about that, or Earthbind Totem or something like that. So, as you can see here, even though I'm not even chasing somebody, me just trying to run away, Frostburn weapon pays its way in gold. So now that we talked about talents and glyphs, let's go into the actual combat and the strategy that we want to employ. The first thing you need to know about Resto Druid Turbo Mirrors is that it's all about pressure and momentum. So with that in mind, especially when it comes to the opener, you want to try and get the momentum in your favor as early as possible. So first thing you want to do, drop your Fire Elemental Totem in your room. The reason you drop it in your room is because that means that the totem is going to be way back in your starting room, so the enemy's going to have to run all the way over there because they're all melee except for the enemy Resto Druid. So that's going to make it very hard for them to get to it, and you want to run straight at the enemy team as quickly as possible for the Resto Druid. This is going to mean that you're going to be in a prime position to take out their Fire Element Totem, and it's just a great way to get opening pressure on the enemy team. So for example, as you can see here, my Fire Elemental is already procced, and I'm mounted and ready to go. And now when we run in separated. Now the reason that my warrior and I are running in at separate angles is because if the warrior charges in, if he's got blitz, we're both going to get stunned. It's going to be really easy for him to get rend on both of us right away. But in this way, it's going to be near impossible unless he wants to use leap already, and he definitely doesn't want to do that. So this is going to make it just that much more difficult for them to stop our charge onto the enemy Resto Druid. So why do we want to attack the Resto Druid so badly? Well, there are a myriad of reasons, but the biggest two are that it's a lot easier to stop clones due to the fact that we have a pummel for my warrior on top of the Druid, able to stop casts in addition to my Wind Shear, but also because the Resto Druid just takes the most damage. You only have Iron Bark and Skin to go through, as opposed to the Enhancement Shaman, which has Sham Rage and Nature's Guardian, and is generally a tanky class in general, in addition to any healing it gets from Flame Shock. Not to mention that it can get Iron Bark as well from the Resto Druid. So that, of course, means that the warrior is the worst target. It has Spell Reflect for any Flame Shocks or Frost Shocks you're trying to put out, parry, defensive stance, healing from the Enhancement Shaman and the Resto Druid, and any cooldowns they can provide him as well. So while you definitely would never hesitate to hit the warrior, whenever it's the only target you can hit, you always want to be putting pressure out. Like I said, it's very pressure momentum based, so you want him to at least be mindful of that and not be able to sit battle stance all game. You definitely want to avoid attacking him as much as possible, and that's why movement is so important. So with that in mind, we're going to be charging the Resto Druid here, and due to the fact that we're able to engage on their side of the map, we're able to get a free Fire LA totem while mine is safe and sound on our side of the map. In addition to that, we're able to connect really well on the Resto Druid here, and as you can see, the enemy team is already in peel mode, which is definitely what we would prefer. We want them to use the stuns on us as opposed to our Resto Druid. So now that we've gotten to the Resto Druid, hopefully with your warrior close behind or on the top of the Druid ideally, what do we do now? What we want to look for here is the first opportunity to pop our Ascendants. Now we want to pop Ascendants as soon as possible, but not too early before anybody takes damage. And the reason for this is because, first off, Ascendants against a Turbo Mirror is not going to get a kill, chances are, unless they really mess up or it's really late in dampening. The reason for this is because it's not really an execute kind of style. It's just going to get defensive cooldowns out of the enemy team. So you're looking to get Cenarion Ward, Draenor Racial if the enhances Draenor. You want to get the enemy's Ascendants, things like that, and as well as Bark Skin from the Druid. So with that in mind, you want to pop it as soon as possible, but don't pop it before anybody on your team is taking damage, because you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of Ancestral Guidance with it as well. So don't completely waste it, but make sure that you're using it as soon as possible, because in addition to you getting defensive cooldowns in the enemy team, that means it's going to be coming out a lot sooner when it comes to the 3-minute threshold. So you're going to be getting more sentences off throughout the game, which is going to play to your favor when it comes to the momentum and the pressure that your team is putting out. So in this instance, my warrior and I connected on the Resto Druid, and I'm waiting for the perfect opportunity to pop my Ascendants, get the most pressure off as possible, while keeping my team offensive as possible and hopefully saving some raw cooldowns. So the enemy enhanced pops his Ascendants, and once I see my Resto Druid start taking some extra damage, I'm going to pop mine and counter. And I'm telling my Resto Druid at this point to come near me because I have big heals for him, and I want to be able to heal him as much as possible. So that's another important thing, is to make sure that your Resto Druid knows that you're popping incidents so he can come back and receive the extra heals that you're going to be giving him at this time. Otherwise, he's going to be going through a lot more cooldowns than he needs to. A big part of the matchup comes in between the times that you and your warrior are able to connect on the Resto Druid. So, for you particularly as Enhancement Shaman, whenever you cannot connect on the Resto Druid, you want to make sure that you're doing damage to the enemy team while you're running at the Resto Druid. That's definitely the ideal way of keeping your pressure going while working towards your ultimate goal of connecting on the Resto Druid and killing him. Because you can see here, even though the Enhanced Shaman, his Shaman Rage is fading soon, and he's pretty low HP, I'm not going to go all in on him and just hope that he dies. Because if I get stuck just attacking him, and the Resto Druid's free to clone from range and everything like that, then we're going to be a lot worse position than, say, he recovers, but I'm running at the Resto Druid so I can easily swap to the Resto Druid. So you need to be going forward with the thought that the target that you're hitting is not going to die. So if you're attacking the warrior or the shaman, even though it looks like they might die, always be working your way towards the enemy Resto Druid so that if he does get topped off like you see here, you're going to be able to make that swap really quickly and easily and continue the pressure in the way that you want it that's the most effective, which is the Resto Druid that we talked about before. Now, your priority list, generally speaking, when it comes to fighting Turbocleave, is that you want, of course, to have your Storm Strike up for the debuff. However, it's not as important as getting those Flame Shocks up and moving, because that's going to be a large portion of your damage. In addition to that, Lava Lash will generally hit harder than Storm Strike, especially if you're targeting a Resto Druid and he's in bear form. You want to value the Lava Lash because it's going to be dealing magic damage. And now when it comes to using Purge, obviously Purge is a really valuable tool against the Resto Druid, but if you go around spamming it, you're going to lose a lot of damage and Flame Shock, and which means heals, so everything is going to go badly for you. So you can't just sit there and spam Purge and hope that and think you're going to do well, because you're not going to. You need the damage, because nowadays Enhanced Shamans do a lot of damage, so if you're not doing the damage you need to and the other Enhanced is doing the damage, you're going to fall behind. So generally the best time to be using the Purge is either A, when the Resto Druid is far away and you aren't able to connect to him, but he's low HP and only has a few hots on himself, so you can keep him pressured that way. Or B, whenever you're running low on Echo the Elements things to use. So if you don't have Storm Strike or Lava Lash cooldowns, or both on cooldown, then that's the time when Purge is obviously a really good tool to use as well. So as you can see here, we have a lot of pressure going in this situation. Both the Enhanced and the Resto Druid are really getting low. And the Enhanced has Shaman Rage coming back up, and the Resto Druid is pretty far away, but I feel confident that we are going to be able to connect for too long. But regardless, we want to keep the pressure going. So with my Purges here on the Resto Druid and my Warrior's damage on the Enhanced, we're going to be able to get a lot of momentum going here. So I'm going to throw out some Purges on him, can keep the pressure going on the Enhanced with a Lightning Bolt, and still I'm always working towards this Resto Druid. So now that my warrior and I have connected on the Resto Druid, we're going to put a stun on him, but the thing is that he's in bear form, so this is the second reason as to why I'm going to use Purge here, and that's because the Druid is in bear form. All I have are Storm Strikes, and just one, and no Lava Lashes. So since he's in bear form, Storm Strike isn't going to do much, and at this point Purge is going to be really crucial to get those hots off him and keep the pressure rolling. And speaking of pressure, as you can see, the Druid has no way to recover after the warrior fears him, and we throw out an Execute. One other thing I want to mention here is that, as you can see, the Enhance is healing him. Whenever I am attacking the Resto Druid, the Enhance is my focus, and likewise when I'm attacking Enhance or the Warrior, the Resto Druid is my focus, because obviously the Enhance is going to cast a lot less, so I have less to interrupt. Guys, that does it for my Resto Druid Turbocleave Mirror Matchup Guide. Hope you both learned a few things and enjoyed watching the video, and I will see you next time.